Hello and welcome to episode 9 of FPL Journey to 10K, the podcasting series that looks to focus on how the greatest minds in FPL think when they tinker with their squads and give me and you a front row seat to that education to help us get into that top 10,000. So, as well as looking at the stats, we are, of course, speaking to one of the greatest managers of all time, ranked currently 6th in the world. That is my co host, Mr. Matt Cobbs. Matt, how has your week been?
I was going to say, when's this greatest mind of FPL coming on? When's our guest speaker? Right. So
We believe in
I
you.
think
We believe in you.
I think I'm sitting at a lowly 4.3 million rank at the moment. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see if we're still if your intro has changed like in a couple of weeks. We'll see where we're at mid season. But yeah, last week was a challenging one. I think like last week's pod was like labeled, was it like worst game week ever? I think this one could be labeled worst. We could have like changed that worst game week ever yet. So yeah, I had a bit of a stinker, right? So I kind of plummeted down the ranks again. Missed a lot of the kind of like highly owned players that scored well, but it's all good fun. I'm still smiling.
That's it. So it is just a game, but your weekly rank wasn't as bad as last week. So at least it was less of
I'll
a
take that.
drop, if you know what I mean.
I'll take that. I'll take that. I think I lost a lot of ground to the competition of like people who engaged and whatnot. But yeah, I'll take that. I'll take those small little victories. So you're bringing me back. You're making me grounded. I'm happy with that. That's an improvement.
Yeah, just the only way is up. The only way is up. I mean, there's 5 million people behind you. Think about that. You're not, you're beating them. But you've already kind of touched on your game week 6, and here we are. So, do you want to start with how yours went?
Yeah, I can't believe how you've pulled out a 61 pointer. Really?
Yeah,
But
it is big night in cash.
Yeah, fair play with that. Because I know you had what was your move? You had a stinker, didn't you, in terms of your actual transfer move?
Horrendous. So I had to sell Martinelli. There wasn't a choice in the matter. He had to go with his injury. So it was either take him out for Bowen and keep the other transfer. Now that would have worked out perfectly because he scored.
Yeah.
Or what I did do, which was drop him to Sarr, just bench fodder that was playing. So that's why Sarr's on my bench. And then change my formation to a 3-4-3. So Mbuma to Alvarez. And the way Alvarez was playing, he got a brace in midweek in the Champions League. He just seemed to be everywhere. So I was like, look, let's go with him over Bowen. Bowen's got Liverpool.
Yeah.
Alvarez had Nottingham Forest at home. So
Yeah.
at the time, it just made sense. Obviously, I'm still happy with Alvarez. No, Bowen scored, but I'm going into this game week. I mean, Bowen's playing Sheffield United at home, so I'm expecting Bowen to get some points, but Alvarez is away at Wolves, and he could quite easily get some points as well. So for me, Alvarez just tipped the scales because of how good he looked and the brace in the Champions League. And Pep came out and basically said the guy's undroppable, and then dropped him after 57 minutes. So he came out with 1 point. So I blame Rodri. I blame Rodri's red card.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, Alvarez, he got the same amount of underlying stats he gets most game weeks, and he comes around with 2 assists and a goal, right? So
yeah, he looked dangerous.
He performed as good like as previous weeks from a stats point of view. But no, I get the move. I was quite surprised. It was tough because like we were debating the moves, right? And you were like all the options you were looking at. You were talking about Ward-Prowse and Trippier in. You were talking Botman and Bowen in as a 2. You're considering Bowen in as a single move. I was kind of surprised you didn't consider Foden because, like, with the injury announcements, and there was an early leak with kind of Foden coming out. I thought you might have like considered him, and I think he got a bit of a haul, didn't he, as well this week?
11, I think, but I've just been burnt too many times with Foden.
Yeah, he's not a long term. He's not a long term pick. He's got too much risk long term. But no, hard luck with that move. But yeah, after that City game, I was feeling smug, right? Because I was thinking Alvarez. I was like low key, pretty worried, right? A million people brought him in kind of last game week, which I think is the most transfers in this season in a single game week, right? So there's so much hype. And like, yeah, I was like, wow, Rodri's come off. Alvarez has kind of come off for a 1-pointer. He hasn't even made 60 minutes. Happy days. Luck is going to be finally with me. But yeah, I ended up on 56 points, which like is a real stinker, right? So that means that I'm down. That was a game week rank of 7.9 million, right? My overall rank is 4.3 million, so a big red arrow down from 3 million. And I think I saw something. I think I tagged you in it on Twitter or X. I can't remember the account that kind of like posted it. I think it might have been like Yonkers or FPL Yonkers, something along those lines. It was like these are the top 20 like Hall of Fame kind of style kind of like managers, and like I was there. I think I was like number 6, number 5, 6 or 7, something like that. I was like, oh, what's the overall rank of them? There's people literally who are 40k. The two guys that I'm like tracking a lot, who are probably the best two managers, like Finn Solly and Fabio Borges. They're both around 400k. I'm the worst by far, by one hell of a margin. Right? So I'm 4.3 million. I think the next worst is like 3 million. So I'm losing like a lot of ground to the competition, which is a bit tough. But I'm like trying to laugh it off. But yeah, I'm gonna need a hell of a season like from now on into. I can still get
I
a
think
good.
it's still very, compact. So if you look at so to yourself,
No, you're quite right. It's bunched. I can still get a good rank, but like I want to be right at the kind of top managers, and it's going to be hard for me to catch them because like they are very good players, right? I won't make many mistakes. So if I'm like 50 points behind them at this stage, that's going to be really hard for me to like catch up with them. But it is words. But yeah, 56 points. Pickford with his like standard 2 points, which is cool. Ruben Diaz was a particular highlight. I think we both got Pickford, we both got Diaz. So Diaz getting a clean sheet finally for Man City after bringing him like game week like 3 on as a transfer. It was nice to see that happen. So that's a bit of a highlight. Stupinan was super attacking. He got an attacking return, which is cool. So happy with that. Chillwell, I think, was the one that was a big debate. So the thing that the transfer I was really weighing up, I would say this with hindsight, but yeah, I was generally considering it was Chilwell out for a Newcastle defender, particularly Trippier. I had enough money for kind of a direct move for kind of Trippier, and the reason why I held back is I just didn't think Chilwell would be dropped. He's the Chelsea captain at the moment, with kind of James being injured, and the words that I understand that Poch isn't viewing him as a left back primarily. He's viewing him as a left winger. But the words around Mudryk last week, right? He wasn't happy with his performance, right? And I viewed it as a kind of one-off thing that kind of Chilwell was dropped. He was kind of rested and like, hey, let's give Mudryk a chance. And Mudryk's performance and kind of the words that the manager said, I thought, yeah, Chilwell was going to be back. And I would be kicking myself, right, if I transferred out Chilwell and he played left winger for Chelsea, right, against an okay game in Villa, not the best, but an okay game. So yeah, I kind of like I predicted his minutes wrong, right? If I knew he was going to be dropped, of course I would have brought in Trippier for that. So yeah, I kind of like gambled then, and he could have got an attacking return when he came on. So that's what you've got him for, right? But yeah, that was super frustrating, like really painful. And then like midfield mixed news. Saka and Fernandes, who a lot of people own, did well. Fernandes, again, we keep like preaching like hold the faith with him and hold faith with underlying stats. He kind of performed against them with a really good performance. Sterling and Bumo and Rashford, they kind of all blanked. So all of them were pretty frustrating. Haaland scored as per usual as my captain. Then then there's Jackson, right? So I know a lot of people you've got him as well. Like he couldn't even like not get a yellow card. He's had like he's got like 5 yellow cards in 6 games, and he's not even an aggressive player, right? So do you remember Diego Costa back in the day? He would get yellow cards because he's been aggressive and winning the ball. I don't even know what the hell Jackson does to get these yellow cards, but yeah, obviously he's got his 1 point, and now he's kind of like banned. And like, he still had good stats. Again, his expected goal involvement was not bad from the kind of weekend, and it's like if Alvarez pulled off those stats, he'd get 2 or 3 returns. So it's like he's been a pain, like Jackson, right? So yeah, a really poor game week. I missed out on Son, Madison, Newcastle defenders, a few others as well. So like, it's a kind of tough one where like all my differentials pretty much failed, and then like, the other kind of options that other people went for have kind of done well. So yeah, a tough one, but like we laugh, we move. it's, it's, it's all good.
It wasn't easier. I mean, I had slightly better 61.
Yeah,
The main two differences is I moved for change of formation, as I said. So Sterling against Alvarez, and
yeah,
Alvarez just picked up the 1 point thanks to Rodri and his red card, meaning he had to make way. But then at the back, Matty Cash came in for me, and it was a toss up between him and Chilwell, really. But
yeah. Good move on that. Good move there.
yeah, I know what it was. It wasn't even the clean sheet. I thought both teams would probably score, but attacking wise, expected goals data, non-penalty expected goals. Chilwell is the third highest player. So I just thought if any of them are going to get an attack and return out of Chilwell and Cash, it'll probably be Cash. So I went with him. Didn't get an attack and return, but did get the clean sheet. So worked out for me. But
No, well done on
yeah,
that.
not overly happy with 61. Dropped from 951,000 to 1.98 million. Long gone are the days I was in the top 100,000 after 2 game weeks. 3 reds in a row, down to nearly 2 million in the world. But the only way is up. I'm just getting antsy. I'm getting frustrated, and this will be a big part of this chat, and
Mm.
when we get to questions
No,
for Matt, because a
you're
lot of
you're
players are in
doing
my
solid.
position.
You're doing solid though. I have to say, like Dave, mate. Like to be fair, you're like compared to other like engaged and good players, like that's a solid enough rank at the at this stage, right? So like, I mean, I'm quite far back. You're at an okay rank because I think there's not many who are doing well. So you're doing well. I think you got to be frustrated over that Alvarez moving those two. Not to like kind of make you
Yeah,
angry and like kind of psych you up, but like that was 2 3 transfers. That's tough, right? That is a tough.
yeah, because I mean, I was never going to bring in Trippier. That was never going to happen. If I bought in the thing that makes me feel better about it is if I was going to bring in any Newcastle defender, I bought in Shah because it would have given me enough money to then
Yeah,
do
yeah.
Mubama to Morris this week. And Shah didn't
Okay.
get an attack in return, so he got 6. So I'd have been maybe 5 points better off.
Yeah,
But
that makes
I've also
it's
had
not.
so I'm not overly upset with that.
I
But
think the
the
Bowen move
Bowen
was
move
the
would have been
one,
an
right?
interesting one.
Yeah, but obviously, like
Yeah, but the
that,
fix,
it was
yeah,
Liverpool. And,
that's
um,
it. Liverpool were playing very well, and then although he's got Sheffield United this week, it was like Liverpool. I'd have benched him if I'd have got Bowen. He'd have been sat
yeah,
on the bench,
no,
so
that
I wouldn't
that
have took the
makes sense.
points.
That
So
makes sense. I did. Have you ever played draft? FPL
one
draft.
season,
Yeah,
yeah.
I've given it a go with this year, but with a random group of people. I don't know any of them, but like literally this team, I smashed it because it doesn't have a captain. I got 69 points, so I had Botman and Trippier like in my team
Nice.
this week. So like maybe you can look at that. Like next international break, we'll invite a few people you
Set up a
listen like
draft.
do a draft league like so we can
Yeah.
see keep saying and like convince ourselves that hey we still know what we're talking about. But
Yeah,
yeah,
anybody that's sent in a question as can be part of the draft league. Yeah, we'll consider. But the talking points from the game week. So a few really. So
hmm.
Tottenham basically stop buying the most transferred in player because every single week the most transferred in player has blanked the game week after. That is a bit of tongue in cheek, but that's what's happened. Seems to be a bit of a pattern this season.
Yeah.
Um, But the Spurs players, so a lot of people seem to play the wild card in game week 5. Their Spurs assets then a lot going for Madison and Son double up.
Hmm.
Obviously didn't do anything that game week, but obviously very handsomely rewarded this week. So I mean the Spurs game, how they played against Arsenal. I appreciate you were talking, potentially getting one or if not both for game week 8. Are you thinking of
Yeah.
getting any a week earlier? I appreciate they've got Liverpool, but
Um,
they can play against the big teams.
not with free transfers. Like I've used my free transfers in a massive mood after
Spoiler.
like, all the games kind of finished like last week. But Saka could be out, right? So that could trigger an early wild card. You know what I mean? If there's a one or two other players out, that could trigger an early wild card. If I was going on a wild card, I would consider um additional Spurs players for sure. Like probably at least 2, if not 3. So yeah, Spurs are they're the good thing is their returns are dominated by a couple of players, right? So you know who's going to start, you know who's going to play. It's got that certainty, which is really good. Still unconvinced whether they're a great team or not, but like I think the price points are generous enough to say, and the stats are good enough to say, hey, Son and Madison are good, and then Pedro Porro and Udogi are both good options as well based on the price point. I think people who got Spurs players in, I think it was a mistake at that time because I think you're basing it on information you know at the time. So if you in Game Week 5 you brought in all these Spurs players, like did you really think they were going to score against Hall against Arsenal? You didn't really, did you? So like it's a little bit fortunate, I have to say, but yeah, they did well. They did well.
Yeah, and then Liverpool this week, and then get into a very nice run from game week 8,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
starting with Luton. So definitely wants to keep your eye on this. But I suppose it kind of follows in because again, questions that I keep seeing in the community, and some questions that have been submitted for yourself, which we'll come on to
Mm.
obviously a little bit, is about these players that have the stats but just don't deliver. So Jackson, one of them. Rashford is another. Looking at Rashford, you could probably very easily get from Rashford to Son.
Yeah.
Rashford's a home to Palace. Son's a home to Liverpool. So obviously Rashford's got the easier
Yeah.
fixture. But how long do you give these players when they've got even if they've got the stats and they've got the fixtures, which has always been the big thing for you, Matt? It's very
Yeah.
much if they've got the stats and the fixtures, hold faith. When do you stop holding faith?
But you don't have to go this in like you don't have to be bloody minded and blind about it, right? I think you do
Yeah,
want some outcomes. Really sort of depend on the alternatives, right? So in Rashford's case, Son is a valid alternative, I think, right? I would say
yeah,
Palace versus Liverpool. There's not a huge difference from a attacking point of view on those, right? So I think that could be a fair move, depending on the rest of your team, right? Other players there's that are kind of underperforming. There may not be like a valid option, right? So it really depends on what's the underlying stats, what's the kind of upcoming fixtures for that player, and then who are the options, right? So if there's options that are performing great from a statistic point of view, but getting the returns and they have good fixtures as well, yeah, kind of go for it. Go for it. I mean, yeah, kind of Rashford. I'm not personally going to probably move for him just because I don't know. I'd be having to burn a bit like take a hit to do it. But like if you had no other moves, I think Rashford to someone like Son is a solid move. I think
yeah. With you,
is
not worth the -4.
no, not at all.
Yeah, got
Like
you. And
Bruno
then
proves
it's
again, like underlying stats, they can be really frustrating. But like if there's fixtures and there's good stats, like generally it does come through. Like we'll ignore a few of the Chelsea players, like who
yeah,
seem to be the massive exception here. But like, and Bruno's proved that a few times, right? Where people just like transfer him out in droves, and the next week he gets like a double-digit return. This week was another example
yeah.
of it,
He's done
right?
it twice. Done it
Yeah,
twice this season.
exactly.
And yeah. I mean, did anybody stand out for you? Any player that you weren't considering that performed in game week 6 and is now on your radar?
Um, Not really. I mean, we like Newcastle defense was massive, and like, yeah, I've never seen a
Yeah,
result like that. Do you know what I mean? Like 8-0, and then like all the defenders bar Shah,
another one
like
had a go. Yeah,
hauling. But like we knew
yeah,
Trippier was a good player. We knew Botman was a good player. We know Shah's a good player. Like people don't really talk about Burn, but he plays every game and gets kind of returns as well. So that was a big unexpected result in terms of points. But like we were expecting Newcastle to be solid defensively, yeah, because we spoke about
yeah.
that loads. Like Liverpool continue to impress, right? I think.
Yeah.
So
Good.
like the one thing I'm kicking myself at, there's lots of like issues that I've done, but with the information that we had at hand, the one thing I regret is not getting Salah for game week 1. Like
Okay.
he's chipping away with those points. So oh yeah, this week it makes me feel a little bit hotter on Son because he's not just performed in one
Yeah.
game week, right? Which was like the hat trick that was really overperforming. He's performed well in a second game whilst playing centrally, looks strong, good underlying stats as well. So Son Son did stand out, as did Salah again. We've mentioned him last week, so like Liverpool, like low-key under the radar, like doing kind of great. And then I think Bowen and Ward-Prowse were looking good as well.
Yeah.
So a few new players which are interesting when we consider wildcards and like forward transfers. Yeah,
Yeah.
not
Good.
new news. Not
And
new
you mean?
news.
No. It's people like you've touched on before. The Newcastle defence we touched on last week, but the one that we didn't. So we did touch on Chilwell, but you were making an interesting point to me just before we started, which was
Yeah.
about whether you should, if you've got him, do you take him out or not? So
So I've had the frustrating defenders this season already, right? So like we both started Gabriel, didn't we, as well, right? And
yeah,
you took him out a little bit earlier than me. I had to hold him because I had Reece James as an injury problem that I had to focus on before, which was like, yeah, wasting my moves, right? Like having to like solve these defender issues. But yeah, I kind of moved Gabriel when I knew, well, I was very confident he was going to start, and then he got 6 points, and that was a bit frustrating. I think Chilwell is another example where this was the week to move him on, right? Of course, because
yeah,
your alternative would have hauled if it was Botman or Trippier, but also because obviously Gusto has had a red card now, so like it's kind of interesting that Poch is viewing Chilwell as a bit of a left midfield at the moment, and he's competing with Mudryk. And I've kind of mentioned that I thought Mudryk would have gone back to the bench and Chilwell started, because I think he's generally played better as a left winger than Mudryk has this season, right? But how Poch is setting up his defense, it's a back four, right? But it's kind of like it's not symmetrical. There's one fullback will be very defensive. So it's been Colwell as the defensive one. Then you got Silva and Disasi, and then you've got Gusto as the attacking one. Gusto's obviously banned now for 2 games, right? So what happens then? I don't think there's a huge amount of like right backs for Chelsea at the moment, right? So I believe Disasi will go to right back. He can't attack, right, because he's a centre back. Thiago Silva will move along. Colwell will then move across to left centre back, and then Chilwell will move to left back and will be the more attacking of the 2 fullbacks, because Disasi will be sitting back. That's what I think will happen. So, like, if I was to put like odds on that, 75% confident that will happen. Of course, Cucurella could play like left back, and I'm sure there's other. Is there any other fit centre backs at Chelsea that mean Colwell could stay as left back? I don't know.
no, I'm not too sure. I'll have to sneakily
But
take a little look at the app.
But like, I think he starts as a left back because of Gusto being out, and like how that shifts the defense around, right, and how they like
Yeah,
designed that defense at the moment. So I've moved Chilwell on right already because I was like in a massive mood about him, and like he was dropping in price, and I wanted to get that 0.1, and like I was just fed up. I was just sick seeing that guy in my team, right? So I've moved him on, but that's probably that's a mistake, right? So it could come to burn me. So is it time to move on Chilwell? Long term, if you need him, move him to someone if you've got a
yeah.
long-term fix. If you're just keeping him short-term, I reckon like it's okay to keep him. I think there's a good chance he'll start and probably do well against who they got. They got like Bournemouth name, I think. Is that right?
Fulham.
Fulham. They played Bournemouth recently. Yeah. Fulham. It's not a great fixture, is it? But like, I mean, I'd be comfortable playing Chilwell on that. I mean, you got him. What
And
are your thoughts?
so I've already done. Yeah, same. I've already done a transfer based
Yeah.
on Jackson. Jackson can't play next game week,
Yeah,
so
exactly. Yeah.
I had to sell him. So I saw Morris was going up in price, so I thought, well, I'll just jump on him because I think
Yeah.
this is my last game week. I'm probably gonna play my wild card next game week. I've had game week 8 in my head for a while, and it just continues to make sense to me. So look forward to that next week when you get to see a
Mm.
wildcard draft for the first time this season on this podcast. But yeah, I had to. So he's gone. I only had one free transfer because I did the double. So
Yeah.
it doesn't make any sense for me. I mean, I could sell him for like a Trippier, but I'd have to take a -4, and then
No.
that's clean sheet points. So all of a sudden, I need Trippier to get an attacking return to make it worth a while, which I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to hold him for one more game week, and he's gone on the wild card basically.
Yeah. I think good.
That's the likely.
Good move for
Um,
you. Good move for you. But yeah, my I kind of rambling a little bit and trying to be too smart for my own good. But I think like talking about formations and tactics and stuff at Chelsea. But yeah, like Chilwell, it's time to move him on if you
Yeah,
need a long term kind of replacement. But short term, like I'd be kind of happy playing him this coming game week, and I kind of wish like I've kept him a little bit, kept him to be honest. But like we'll see what happens. But like there's enough rotation risk there that it was just new info that he's not a wing back, he's not a left back. He's viewed primarily as um
exactly. Yeah,
a left winger, and there's a lot of competition there. I think that's enough info. He's been dropped twice now. That's enough info to kind of move him on long term, but short term he'll play because there's a lack of defensive options, right? So for one game week
yeah,
he's good. Beyond that, nah.
yeah. So that'd be. You know what he is? He's a poor man's Matty Cash. That's what he is.
I won't
I've got
even.
to
I
back.
won't even.
I've got to
I
back
won't
Matty
even say their
Cash.
name. They don't. Those names don't even. They can't be said in the same like sentence. Like
No,
man,
it's yeah, fair enough.
what a nightmare.
But so we've kind of both give away. We've both got rid of Jackson, but there'll be plenty of people still in the community that I'd be thinking, right, I need to do something with this guy. Who do I go for? So we had a little bit of a look at this last week, and the tack was, look, the stats are there, the fixture's not so horrendous. He's then got Fulham
Yeah,
coming next. He then decides to go and get his fifth yellow card, so he can't play against Fulham. So now you have to sell him. There's no real choice in the matter.
no.
So who is Morris the obvious? So this is based on form in front of us. Obviously, Haaland's number one, Jackson's number two, and then there's it's probably names you'd expect like Watkins, Wissers had a good start, Alvarez is there, Darwin's there, but based on it being a double game week, is Morris the obvious, or is there somebody else that you'd look at?
This is definitely not form, is it, mate? Actually, because I can see Jackson's number two. He's probably the lowest. Is this filtered by expected
Based on
FPL?
expected FPL
Yeah.
points, exactly that.
I was gonna
Yeah,
like you're mocking us with that Jackson pick.
yeah.
He's not.
Based on expected points,
Yeah,
he should
expected
have
points. Yeah,
4.41 goals, and he's got one. Yeah, that's good.
yeah. That's crazy, isn't it? He's got 12 FPL points, expected FPL points of 32.
Yeah,
Wow, what
yeah.
what a bastard! Like,
Just 20 points. 20 points. We're not sour.
um, wow, that's kind of mad. But like, who's a player to replace him with? I think if you're looking the short term, like Morris just feels like a no-brainer, right? Like we know
Yeah,
he's on penalties, we know he's good for 90 minutes. Um, he's okay, he's involved, right? Like, I mean, people
yeah,
are saying like he's playing two really bad teams in Everton and kind of Burnley. Anything could happen, right? All he needs to do is one attacking return, and he gets a double-digit return, right? And like his non-penalty stats aren't great, let's be honest, but
yeah.
um, he's involved, right? So
Yeah. Well,
I think for
he's had
short,
13 shots.
yeah, like he's like he looks okay. Like if you watch the games and highlights, he's in and around the box. He's very involved, right? So he,
Yeah,
given that he's got penalties, that's an added bonus, right? And like we're not stupid. We know he's not going to get a penalty every game, but
yeah,
I think it feels a nice one for like if you're bringing in a player for a couple of weeks, right? Obviously, he's not a long term player.
yeah,
You don't want Morris to like for a long term, but like short term, he's all right. I think so. Yeah, I'd say Morris is the obvious replacement. I mean, other than that, like it's a bit of a toss up in terms of what time frame you're working at. I mean, Watkins has great fixtures game week 8 onwards. Like for Villa, I personally wouldn't be going for Watkins because I think there's other better options for Villa than Watkins. But
yeah,
Watkins is a option. Solanke, I think, will come into his own soon. He's like long, like not even medium term, long term. He has like a nice run of fixtures and is on pens and plays every game, so he could be an option. There's not screaming out alternatives though, is there? It seems like it's like Haaland, of course, and then it's
seems
like
to be. Yeah,
then it's like
I'm very. Yeah, I'm very happy to hear you say that about Watkins because in my wildcard draft, it's not Watkins I've got. I went Diaby, so I'm glad. I'm
yeah,
glad you've said that.
I I do the same, right? You're getting very similar players now with Watkins being off penalties for the
Yeah,
well 2 million less in Diaby's case, right? So
yeah,
not two, but it's 1.5 million, like kind of
yeah,
less.
yeah,
But I agree, Diaby's kind of I'd prefer him over Watkins at the moment. I mean, the guy who
Yeah.
stands out as a potential wild card who could be incredible, right? And it'd be great if he goes on a run and starts the next couple of games when we're thinking about wild cards, right?
I know who you're gonna say.
Darwin, right?
Oh no, I thought you were gonna say Dominic Calvert-Lewin. There you go. Yeah,
No,
Darwin.
I mean, like Calvert-Lewin is kind of cool, but like he's playing for a poor team, right? And like he just needs a proper run of kind of fixtures, and he's in that rehab stage, right? Like Nunes is the interesting one, right? Because his stats per 90 are obviously awesome. It's obviously just a minutes problem with him, but if he ever like hints at starting 4 games in 5, then like he'd be like a no-brainer, right? With how he's playing and Liverpool's like fixtures. But you probably want to see a little bit more from him in terms of minutes before you go there. So yeah, there's not a huge amount of striker options, right? So I think like it's kind of like probably really is Alvarez, who doesn't have the best fixtures. Alvarez, but like it is City. Alvarez, Watkins, or Morris, and depending on your time frame, it's kind of one of them really to kind of form who's the best. I've gone Morris.
I'm with you.
You've gone Morris, I think.
So. Yeah, I've got Morris. It's literally 1 game week for me, and he gets 2 games, so 2 stabs at it. And what's impressive me, he's 8th on this list in terms of expected FPL points. He's played a game less than everybody else on it. So if you take that into account,
that is a really good point.
Yeah, so it'd actually be 5th, maybe 6th.
Yeah,
so
I mean, add like 3 points on top of it, and he'll be just below Watkins for the season. I mean, that is biased by his 2 penalties, right? Of course, we got to take into that account, but that's the nature of the game. If you're getting a penalty taker,
yeah, exactly that. But if it backs us up, this is then predicted points game week 6 through 10. Just didn't know, obviously, people that are listening how long they're going to get this striker in for. So there's 4 game weeks worth of data. But in this game week 7, Morris' expected points is higher than Haaland. I mean, I'm not convinced by that, but that's what the metrics say, or whatever the metrics that that Fix use.
Yeah, well, this is the fixed one. I think probably most of the algorithms. I think FPL Review as well has Morris slightly ahead of Haaland. Like I think most of them would say, just because it's the nature of 2 game weeks, and that's the beauty. Like Haaland hasn't. Well, Haaland is Haaland, right? But like, if he scores 1 goal, it's 6 points, right? Morris, if he does anything, it's like a double-digit return. So I can see the logic behind it. I don't know. I'm 50-50 on whether I'm captaining Morris or Haaland. There's pros and cons of both, for both of them. Normally, when I've got a 50-50 decision with captaincy, I don't normally look at ownership. But when it comes to captaincy, if it's a toss-up for me, I go with the more highly owned player just to reduce that kind of risk thing if it's a 50-50. But I'll see. I'll kind of see where I land. I can see the pros of kind of captain Morris this week.
It'll be, even if you don't captain him, do you think there'll be enough ownership for it to still be a bit of a differential with Morris?
Not amongst engaged players. I think most engaged players are going to have Morris.
Yeah. I think that most of them are bringing him in. At the minute, he is currently on 4.5% owned. But I appreciate a lot of transfers will happen.
Yeah. I mean, you'll be probably close to 10, if not like 15, right? Because like every single podcast and content producer will be talking about Morris, and it'll be like, "Oh, thanks, guys, insightful stuff." But like, he'd probably be close to like 15%, I think, come deadline, and like, I think most engaged players are going to have him because he's so accessible from a price point. He's like, double game week, really easy fixtures. He's on penalties. Like, I think a lot of people own Jackson as well. Most people with Jackson are going to go straight to Morris, right? I think people that have Alvarez, they probably got some money in the bank as well because he's a little bit cheaper and will probably move their Arch or Umbama or their whatever their third striker is to Morris. So his ownership will go up high. So I think it. If he does well, you obviously go up the ranks, right, and you'll improve. But I think compared to if you're in your competitive mini leagues, I reckon a lot of the people who know what they're doing will have Morris.
But he seems the solid standout option, even over the next. Well, according to this, even over the next 4 game weeks, he'll outscore everybody else. So seems like the from Jackson a pretty easy one.
I agree.
moving on to Chilwell, because I imagine there'll be a lot of players. Not even Chilwell. This should be more defence, because obviously there'll be players that have gusto. Obviously, with his red card, he's going to mix the next 3 games. So Chilwell, you've kind of touched on already, and actually you made very good points that actually he's probably more likely to start this game week than he has been the last 2, based on Gusto. Um, but a lot of players will be panicking about him, which understandably, and it looks as though if you can move away from him to somebody based on expected FPL points, Cash is at the top, then Trippier, Chilwell's actually third. One of that we were speaking about this before. Chilwell's expected FPL points 30, actual points 15. Chelsea like to dodge points. Then you get into your Arsenal with White, Anderson, and Palace. But if you obviously move Chilwell on to Trippier, so budget wasn't an issue, and I'm assuming if your budget isn't an issue, you'd say Trippier is the defender of choice.
Yeah.
What if budget isn't
I
an
issue? You don't need to explain or elaborate on that, right?
No.
Newcastle.
No.
Elite defense, and like Trippier is the most attacking player within that defense. So yeah.
What if budget is an issue? So 6.6 is obviously quite a lot for a defender. Would you then automatically go to another Newcastle defender, or would you look at somebody else that might be a bit more attacking, like a Matty Cash? What would you be thinking?
Yeah, other Newcastle defenders: Botman, Shaw, Burn, probably in that order. Botman, then Shaw, then Burn, and then probably Cash comes like a level below those, right? So
Whoa.
yeah, I think it's a viable option.
This is my boy.
I mean, I think it's a real viable option of having 3 Newcastle defenders at this stage.
Yeah.
Well,
if you look at
again, it's easy to say, right? Because they hoard last game week. So this isn't us chasing points. I think we were speaking about it last week. Is that Newcastle defensive stats this year have looked really good despite having tough games. Like they had so many tough games before this kind of week, and they've done well. And they've got their first. I think it's the first clean sheet of the season for them this week. But they got a really nice run for the next couple. So, well they are like the predicted points according to Fix. Trippier, Botman, Shaw, then Robertson, then Cash, then Saliba, then Virgil, then Zinchenko. So it's obviously not heavy on Burn's minutes, but Burn plays every game. He does, right?
He does.
I mean, Trippier, it's kind of really weird though, isn't it? That you've got this Champions League team with Burn, who couldn't even get into. He was from Brighton, wasn't he? I think before.
Yeah,
he
that
couldn't
sounds
get
right.
into the Brighton lineup, and he was a centre back. He's playing to the left in the Champions League. Defense is kind of really, really bizarre, but he plays every game. But I think Trippier, Botman, Shaw, and then Burn. That's kind of the order I would put them as well. So I kind of agree with these fixed predictions. And looking at that, they're the best by far, quite some margin, really. So
I do well ahead, especially this next game week 7 at home to Burnley. So I'll put a question on the left. This is a selfish question because it's my position. So I've already done. I only have one transfer. I've already done Jackson out, Morrison. I've got Chilwell on the pitch at the minute, away at Fulham, and I imagine a lot of people will be thinking, "Do I take a -4? Chilwell out, Trippier in." What are your thoughts from when you played about taking point hits for a defender change?
Yeah, dumb. He's not going to score 18 points every week, is he? Or 12 points for Botman. That's free. That's a freak result. A real freak result. So that's Sheffield United are awful. Burnley are bad as well, but he's not. They're not going to get 18 points and 12 points respectively, are they? So I think that's dumb. And even if you think Chillwell is going to be dropped, you need Newcastle to get that clean sheet, right? And that's probably 50-50 odds, right? So you're already doing a coin toss. But then you've got to think about who would you play instead of Chilwell. I think for you'd play a Stupenham, for example. He could get he'll get a solid 2 points. He could get an attacking return, right? So I don't think it'll pay off. Personally.
Doing the transfer. So one of the biggest lines I'm getting from you, Ian, Matt, is if you can get away with taking a point hit, don't take the point hit.
No, not for a defender. Not for a defender. and when you've got a decent alternative.
Yeah, got you. Well, there you go. That talks me into, and I like the point you were making about Chilwell playing. Makes me more confident anyway that I won't be taking the hit.
No, I
Um,
think you'll play. I think you. Well, I'm not gonna. This is not about me telling you what to do.
no,
And like,
not at all.
what
Not
do
at
I
all.
know? Like, you're doing better than me, and like 4 million players are doing
Yeah,
better than
I
me.
should
Like,
be the
but
mentor, right? I should be the
yeah,
mentor.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, even though your worst finish is like half of my best finish rank, but yeah, I'm the mentor. Uh, you'll come back. You'll come back. Carrie Irvings has been on Twitter just showing his support to you. Just so you one of our active listeners.
I think it's.
But
I think that I found the solution actually is just bringing cash in it. I think that's
that's it. Bring in
what
Matty
I'm gonna.
Cash. Bring in Matty Cash. That's the only point. There's 30 odd points between us. Cash got me 17 in a game week. There's half of them. So yeah, it's all about Matty Cash. But so I thought it was worth throwing up Luton Burnley players. I think a lot of people will maybe look at getting a Luton Burnley. You know, we all get blinded and by the dazzling lights of a double game week. We had a bit of a look at it last week, but obviously we've had another week's worth of information. This is again, I love like ranking things by expected FPL points
Mhm.
because at the end of the day, we're all trying to get FPL points from our players. Um, Initial look at this, I think Morris is probably the only worthwhile person.
Yeah, I
But
mean
is there
Morris.
anybody else from you?
No, I mean Morris isn't great. Like, let's be honest. So
Yeah, he's not.
in 5 games, he's got 4 shots on target, and 2 of them will be penalties, right? So my
Yeah,
expectations are quite low, right? I just want him to do. He may get an attacking return, and if he gets an attacking return, he's going to get a double-digit haul. So yeah, happy days, right? So yeah, Morris is the stand-up, but he's not great. Let's like temper that. Like
yeah,
he's 4 shots in target, like 2 non-penalty shots on target in like 5 game weeks isn't great, but like yeah, there's enough there to say hey, let's go for him. The player I like outside of but there's 3 other players that I like outside of Morris. So I like Kabore. So Kabore, if you look at his attempted assists, there's like 4 attempted assists there. His like expected assists over the games he's played is 1.1, right? And his minutes are lower, right? So his stats are artificially lower, right? Because he didn't start one of the games, right? So if you think he's nailed on for both the things, Kabore is a very attacking fullback, right? And I know a few people started with Kabore game week 1. They went for him rather than like that defender we got from Sheffield United, who's
yeah. Forward.
injured all the time. Bulldog, yeah, like
Yeah,
fucking great.
yeah,
If you went Kabore there, which was like a really valid option, I personally did go Kabore because they had a blank game week 2, so I just wanted that. Oh yeah, but Bulldog's been injured since game week 1, so like yeah, that's not worked out really. But like Kabore, happy days if you went in. Well done with that move. So Kabore, I think looks cool, but like, is he a minutes risk? I'm not too sure, but like I think he's played 90 in most recent ones, and he's an attacking fullback. So Kabore stands out. And then really it's the goalkeepers, right? It's the goalkeepers. Good goalkeepers, they've got lots of routes to points, save points, clean sheets, bonus, right? If they get those things. So yeah, Kaminsky is an option from kind of like, it's a bit of a luxury transfer, but like if you got transfers to burn, bringing in Kaminsky or the Burnley keeper, I think is a valid option for sure. So yeah,
yeah.
Morris and Kabore stand out, and then the 2 keepers are options.
Potentially a keeper.
Other than that, I think it's like pretty much a desert in it. It's not
Yeah,
great.
we try and build ourselves up for double game weeks, but when it's Luton and Burnley, it's quite it's quite hard
No.
graft when the I think are they both sat in the relegation zone. Apologies if Burnley aren't,
Yeah, they both
but
got 1 point, haven't they? I think they both got a single
yeah,
point, and like all the promoted teams are awful, aren't they? Like,
yeah,
they're so
they're
bad.
not doing it. So it's the first time I've not been drawn in. So I've got the 1, which is Morris, and yeah, that'll do me. Um, but on to my favourite part of the week: questions for Matt. Shout out for those submissions. So Cage Paps, which is actually Andy Pendy, so he was getting in double questions some weeks. Didn't realise it
Oh,
was the same person. Told me on Twitter, imposter. But I'll let him. I'll let him off. We've then got at FPL Max W, big supporter, nicely retweeted our podcast for us not too long ago. So thank you, Matt, and for submitting your question. The Real and Jubilo 1. And then we've also got Rycon6, which I'll come to his question, and then I've got a slide to help you with your answer. And then we'll come on to Tom Jones has been back with his transfer question of the week. But Cage Paps, we'll start there. Andy Pandy. So he's asking about if you split your season and aim for certain ranks by certain points. So, like, do you need to be at a certain rank by Christmas to kind of know where you're going to end up and know if you need to change the way you play the game and take more risks potentially?
Yeah, so I mean, I I think this is quite a delusional target now based on where I am, but I'd be hoping to be in around 100k by Christmas, but that kind of mid-season kind of mark. I think that's a good indicator, and then you can have a strong end to the season when some people give up and there's double game weeks and all that kind of good stuff. And you just have lots more data. It's a lot easier to predict who's going to do well like back end of the season. I think that's what I've always like targeted myself. I mean, I think that's going to be really hard for me to achieve, and probably hard for a lot of us to kind of get to this year. But do I change my approach based on where I'm ranked? No, I don't think so.
Just keep going.
I think so. I'm on a few leagues with some other kind of pretty good players. Like, and what I see them doing as a common mistake, is that if they're not highly ranked after a quarter of the season, they just start doing all these really curveball moves and these high risk moves, and they're not going to come off. They're just like they're going all in, right? And they're kind of rolling the dice against the odds and like hoping it will come off, right? So this season will be an interesting test because I'm not in a good position, but I generally think all the stuff I've done have been sensible decisions, right? I've probably made my first mistake now, which is move out Chillwell rather than a Stupinan for Trippier. But I think I've generally played quite well, and I think the expected stats suggest that I've played well. So I'm just going to keep grinding and see where I go at. I'm not going to start being really radical and taking hits. I'm going to keep playing as if I'm a high ranked player and just like FPL is about scoring points, right? I'm just going to try and put myself in a position where each week I can score the best amount of points with the best odds, right? So I'm going to keep grinding, I think.
So just the same because FPL Matt W, similar sort of question because he said that he's sitting at 3 million. When is it time to push? I suppose again, similar sort of thing. When is it like? Would it get to Easter and you could be sat at 1 million and think, right, I need to do something different, or as you've just explained there, just tried and tested, it's worked for you in the past, just carry on.
Yeah, what do we mean by push? Do you know what I mean? Does that mean start taking risks, start taking hits? Like, you should be pushing every week, right? There's not weeks where you're aiming to do bad. So like, I mean, every week you're trying to do your best and trying to get the top amount of points, right? So yeah, I don't think your overall rank really should be dictating your level of play. Like, let's be honest, if we're 5 game weeks out and I'm like a 1 million rank, which I really hope I won't be. Do you know what I mean? I'd be a pretty guy.
Yeah,
I'd be really annoyed with that. But then I'd be starting rolling the dice, of course, right? Because like, if I'm 4 million or 100k, I don't really care. Like, I kind of want to get like a top rank. So like, if it's right at the end of the season, I probably would be more risky. But I've never really come across that situation. So at this stage, I'd be just doing the tried and tested, like trying to push but in the right way. Being like
far too early to start
decisions, minimizing your hits, being medium to long term with your planned fixtures, planning against the stats and the fixtures, all that kind of good stuff, But I won't be afraid to take things that people may take as risks, right? But I've never cared about that. So like wildcard time in game week 9 for me, which I'm still targeting that game week, I may go without Haaland, right? So people might say, hey, that's a risky and radical move, but I'm putting that out there that I'd be looking at the fixtures versus the other players that I could get in and this kind of squad value. I'm not doing that as a throw of the dice. Do you know what I mean? I'm doing that as like a pre-planned move, not taking really into account my current rank. So I mean, I'm not going to change it. And like when I have seen people change stuff they do really bad. They keep on doing these like really stupid decisions. I'm like, guys, you could have got a top 10k rank if you just like kept to your fundamentals. I don't know why you started acting so random. So
yeah, I got you. And then I suppose the Real and Jabulo. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. But his question, well, you've kind of answered this already, to be honest. It was quite flippant. It was, why do I need Morris? Simple as that. But we've touched on that. You don't need to go over all ground. So hopefully, if you didn't catch that part of the conversation, then go back to 41 minutes and 35 seconds if you're listening, and I should answer that question for you. And then Rycon 6. So
like, if you didn't hear that, go back. listen harder.
Go back to 41:30. We answered that before we got here.
You don't need, like, if you got Alvarez, you don't need Morris. If you got Jackson, it's a very convenient option to jump on. Like, probability, like all those predictive models, right? But probability says he's going to be one of the better striker scores of the game week, right? Because he's playing 2 games. So he's got 4 points there, and then an attacking return. He's over 10 points, happy days, right? So there's not a huge option of kind of strikers, but you don't need him. You don't need him. But like he can be a convenient exit point for Jackson. I think probably the best kind of route to jump off. And like if you got Alvarez, but you want to bring in a cheap striker for your third striker, if you want to bring in an Archer or Mbama, like Morris is an option as well, right? It might mean you have to bench a Rashford or someone, but I think it's still a good option. So it's that, you want him because he's got 2 game weeks and he plays 90 minutes and is on penalties and has 2 really easy games. So
So if you don't have Jackson and you've only got 1 free transfer, so out of the 2 that you've done, right? So you mentioned before you've done Jackson to Morris and you've done Chilwell to Trippier. Forget the Chilwell thing that's in your head, but like if you could only bring in this week Trippier for somebody or Morris, which one would you go for?
Morris, 100%.
For the double?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And
okay.
Double, nailed on for like 90 minutes or thereabouts, double and 2 easy fixtures, plus he's on pens. Yeah, but that's quite compelling.
Makes it easy.
That is quite compelling.
Yeah, well, that tells me that the transfer of the week is to get Morris in. And then Rycon 6, so his thing was all about, you kind of answered this slightly. So he basically asked, look, is Haaland a perma captain or is there a chance to take risks? Now, you're even talking about not having Haaland at all. And I put this slide together, which was the fixtures between game weeks 8 and 17. So I've not looked at this game week because he's playing Wolves and we've spoken about potentially getting Morris in. But for the game week after, so game week 8 through 17, Man City's fixtures are the 17th worst, 18th worst even in the league. Now, they're by head and shoulders the best team in the division, and they'll probably win the vast majority of those games. But there's certain game weeks, like game week 8, they're away at Arsenal. Tottenham have got Luton. In game week 11, they're away at Man United. Liverpool have Luton. They've then got, later on, they've got Tottenham, whereas Liverpool have Fulham. When they've got Aston Villa, Liverpool have Sheffield United. So I see Salah and Son as some really good alternative captain options worth the, if you call it a risk, because Salah and Son are very, pristine picks that have been over for season after season after season. So when you talk about potentially not having Haaland, I'm assuming you've looked at the captaincy options away from Haaland for that period and can see some better picks.
Yeah, and let's be honest, I'd prefer to have Haaland in my team. It's just the price, right, and like the alternatives, and that is a tough fixture run. And within that period, there's like Champions League as well, right? So there's that kind of rotation risk, and like Man City are going to get fatigued, right, with their squad depth unless people kind of start coming back from injury. It's a really thin squad at the moment, right? So I'd prefer to have him in, and I'm not set on this decision yet, but there's the game weeks there where I'd be very comfortable captaining someone else other than Haaland, right? So you call out some of those games where Liverpool have prime fixtures, right? I'd be quite happy captaining Salah over him for sure. Salah, I think, has got the second best, as always, right? He's got kind of some very solid kind of expected goal involvement stats, and like they're comparable. they're not comparable, but they're not far off Haaland's. And like, same with Son. We'll see how Son goes, right? Because I think I want to see a little bit more from him just to make sure, hey, is he that centre forward? Is he on penalties, right? But if those things come out, I'd be quite happy captaining Son in some games over Haaland.
Yeah,
All things equal, you go
absolutely.
Haaland, right? But like if it's like you said, Haaland is away at Arsenal, and then you've got someone playing Sheffield United at home, right? You roll the dice,
Yeah, yeah.
but
And that's
you
it. 'Cause
wouldn't roll the
that
dice.
run.
I think it's a calculated risk there, and it's kind
Yeah,
of like
yeah,
saying
yeah.
that you predict that those alternatives probably outscore him. So I don't think he's a perma captain. No.
No, that's it. Those 8 games, right? Arsenal, for people that are listening not seeing this, Arsenal, Brighton, Man United, Bournemouth, Chelsea, Liverpool, Tottenham, Villa. That is hard graft. I imagine maybe not, maybe not Chelsea. Apology to Chelsea fans and Bournemouth, but the rest are probably going to finish top 8, and they've just got them back to back. That's a horrendous run of fixtures.
Mm.
But yeah,
You look at
as I
those
say,
games in
the best.
isolation, right? Sorry to jump in there, but you look at those games in
No, no, yeah,
isolation. That's where the fear is, right? That they could hammer any of those teams.
yeah,
I wouldn't
yeah,
be.
yeah,
It wouldn't be.
absolutely.
I wouldn't be surprised. That Bournemouth game at home, game week 11, would be scary. You didn't have Haaland and you're not captaining him in. However, Salah's got Luton away. Right, so even there's a viable alternative, right? So, I can see what wider squad I want and what I can build with that additional money if I didn't go Haaland. So, it's on the cards. So
Yeah, yeah,
I don't think he's a perma captain.
yeah. There you go. There you go, Ryan. Get somebody else in, mate. Get somebody else in and get some captain armbands elsewhere. Fun of the game, right? And then the transfer question of the week, nice and easy one for you. So this is FPL Thomas Jones. He's already done Matty Cash in, legend Thomas. It's about time you got on the gravy train for Matty Cash points. So he's coming for Chilwell, and then he's got a second free transfer. So he's looking to move a keeper on. Would you get rid of Turner or Johnson for Areola? Given he's got Sheffield United at home
Yeah.
and a really good fixture, and some nice fixtures coming up for West Ham as well.
Um, that's a very
I suppose
niche
the
question,
question
isn't it?
here is, yeah, or would you? I suppose the reason it's there, would you do that and get Areola in who's at home to Sheffield United, or would you be thinking, comfortable? I mean, Johnson's away at all. He's at Old Trafford, Nottingham Forest. I can't think who
Yeah.
they've got, but Turner might not even play that game because he's obviously they've got that Greek keeper in at Forest, so he might get benched. So would you do a keeper trade to get a safe keeper with a really good fixture, or would you be thinking to yourself, well, Luton are playing twice actually. Let's get Morrison or somebody over a keeper change and
Yeah.
just go with Johnson.
I think these things are tough without looking at the wider squad that this person's got, right? So like, and depends when they're wild carding, right? So if you're wild carding, like shortly, I think you just roll with like play Turner. If you don't play, cool, you got Johnson, and he gets some kind of save points. Happy days, right? I wouldn't be using a transfer on a keeper if you're planning to wild card in the next 2 game weeks. I just kind of like run with it and accept it. So I think that there's a potential for greater point swings if you bring in someone from an
Yeah,
outfield perspective. It's not a bad move. It's not a bad move. I would probably. It really depends. If you're wildcarding next game week, hey, it could be a cool move because, like, if the rest of your team is perfect.
yeah,
But if you're doing it in one game, if there's one, I'm not really like answering this very well. If you're doing it as a 1 game week punt,
yeah,
bring in the Luton or Burnley keeper, right? Bring Kaminsky,
yeah,
yeah. If
yeah,
you're looking at something, if you're looking to wildcard not game week next game week, but like game week 9 or game week 10, I'd look for a different move, right? Because you can bring in Areola then. If
yeah,
you've already wildcarded or not doing it until the distant future, I would roll it. I would roll it.
yeah.
It's not
Okay.
essential, really.
Yeah. I'm with you. I'm with you. I get that. It's
I got there eventually. I was like a
good.
bit all around the place there, a
No,
bit,
no,
bit,
I get what you're
bit
saying. It's
around the
like, yeah,
track.
specific, isn't it? So there you go. There you go, Thomas. If you've got no other transfer to make, feel free. But if you can get in a Morris, and it might get you some some better points alternatives. But if it doesn't, don't come and blame Matt. There you go. So on to Fixture Ticker, which
Yep.
just again this will be probably a quick easy overview. But this is the attacking one. So you're looking at, unsurprisingly, Luton at the top. So again, screams potential for Morris, but it is skewed, obviously, because they've got the two fixtures, hence why Burnley are also right there at the top. But you made the point before about Aston Villa being having some really good fixtures. So you were looking at potentially Diaby, Watkins is also an option. So they're up there. Liverpool fixtures start to swing. Expect to go really nice from game week 9 there. Was there anybody you're looking at there and thinking, right, I need to target those teams? Obviously, people that you've spoke about already.
Yeah, no real change, but like Liverpool stand out like a sore thumb, really, don't they? Like Brighton away, you could argue that's actually an easy fixture from a defensive point of view. Then attacking view, sorry. Then Everton at home, Forest at home, Luton away, Brentford at home. Wow, that's a great run, right? You want Salah for that, don't you? At least. But
Yeah.
the question there is like who else can you afford? Given Trent is super expensive, and then who else do you dare to go to if given the rotation risks elsewhere? But like you want Salah for that run, 100%. West Ham have some nice fixtures, and they got some good attackers, so that stands out as the Villa. So yeah, those are three interesting teams to start looking at and considering, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah. And then the defence, unsurprisingly, again, with the extra fixture, Burnley and Luton are at the top. I don't think it's going to be very often that they're at the top of the fixture tickers. So, we'll give them it whilst they're there. They can enjoy that moment. But then Spurs are on there as well. I was having a bit of a play around with a potential wildcard, looking at Udogie from game week 8, because Luton and Fulham, Palace, Chelsea, Wolves, great moves from a defensive point of view. Tottenham don't keep many clean sheets, but I'm half considering going for Porro.
Porro actually looks the better. Like Porro, because Porro has Emerson Royale, doesn't he, as his competition, whereas Udogie has Davis, and Davis isn't attacking fullback at all. So I think Udogie's more nailed. But isn't Emerson Royale injured or completely out of favour?
Yeah.
So that's why I didn't go Porro before. But Porro has actually slightly better attacking stats. So I think going Porro over Udogie could be an option. I agree.
Depends. Yeah, he's a bit more expensive, so I'll see if I can afford him. But he's also a differential, right? Because most people will go to Udogie, so it's a gambled risk. Might not pay off, but
who cares?
It's a sensible one.
Ownership, ignore ownership in it. Like seriously talking, like I mean, go for the better option. I think it's close at the moment. Porro in isolation is better, but like you said, he's more expensive, and I think Udogie's slightly more nailed because he's got Davis competition rather than Emerson kind of Royal. But I like Porro. Arsenal have some pretty sweet fixtures, and they actually. I'm looking at game week 10, Sheffield United at home, then game week 12, Burnley at home. Those are some nice. Those are two really nice kind of prime fixtures, and that obviously is sandwiched around Newcastle in game week 11. But Gabriel could be a shout. Do you know what I mean? I mean, he seems to be back in the squad now. Zinchenko's there, so yeah, he's super cheap, so he could be a option for some people.
Wow. Did you think that you'd talk about Gabriel after game week 2? Potentially bringing him in so quickly.
But to be fair, we said like it'd be Zinchenko that unlocks that, right? And like lo and behold, when he did start playing, kind of Gabriel came back in. So he's all cool. I mean, West Ham, decent little run there for West Ham, and like Areola's going to be very popular for a lot of people coming up. We just spoke about him. We spoke about Newcastle, of course. I think they're let's ignore Burnley and Luton. I think Newcastle are the team that are going to stand out in terms of good fixtures from a defensive point of view, but also they got a very good defense. So I think a few people are like doubled up already on them. Good move for you, like good planning.
Yeah. Well, on that note, we'll move on to the old game week reveals. Now, this will probably be pretty quick because we've already basically said what we're doing. So I've already done it. So you'll see Morris there, prime centre, right in the middle of the pitch. That is my transfer. So Jackson was banned, moved in early just in case the price point changed. I probably won't. I've mentioned there about being tempted onto the Chilwell for Trippier move, but what you said made a lot of sense. So I think I'll just hold out. Don't waste the 4 points. And then other considerations, future plan, and I will 95% sure be wildcarding in game week 8. I looked at the long term fixtures. I looked at the players I've got, and there's about 11 changes I'll be able to make next week.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'll probably make the move, but yeah, that's pretty much me. So starting Pickford at home to Luton, quite happy with that. Cash at home to Brighton, again, as attacking non-penalties is one of the best in the league. So I'll go with him over Estupiñán for that reason, which is why Estupiñán's on the bench. Chilwell away at Fulham. Again, Fulham's defence. Leno's getting a lot of points because it's a lot of save points. Their expected goals against isn't great. So I thought, well, let's go with Chilwell for that reason. Hopefully he starts. And then Ruben, yeah, it's the best defence in the league. Hopefully he gets me another clean sheet. And then midfield right itself. I'm always going to bench Sarr because Saka, Fernandes, Rashford, and Mbumo have got much better attacking potential and better fixtures. So that wrote itself. And then, yeah, my three up front. Hopefully Alvarez gets some returns. But at the minute, I will be captaining Haaland just through fear of not captaining him. Oh, we'll bring up your team because at the minute, your armband is on Morris.
Yeah, I think a bit of a piss take. Obviously, I've got Trippier as my vice captain as well. So, yeah, I made those early moves. Chilwell to Trippier, Jackson to Morris. So my team will be Pickford, Trippier, Estupiñán. That's a question for you, actually. I don't know whether Estupiñán is actually a better bet than Chilwell. To be debated.
All right, okay.
I don't know if it's Chelsea. Chelsea, an interesting one. I don't know if I've already said. Have I said it? I think I said it before we started recording that Chelsea have been the only team other than Man City who've won every game this season on expected goals. So obviously, take it with a pinch of salt, right? But the underlying stats have been very good, so they could, finally get lucky. But Chilwell, you think there's a doubt that he'll actually play, and if he does play, he'll be playing left back. He won't be playing left wing. Estupiñán is playing like a winger.
Yeah. Do you think he's got more chance of an attacking return?
Maybe. I think next game week in isolation because Estupiñán will be playing that advanced wing back role, where he is playing as a winger. Chilwell, if he does play, I think we're thinking he's going to play as left back, right? Albeit an attacking one. I think Estupiñán's probably got a slightly better chance of an attacking return, but like Chilwell is what odds you put on the clean sheets, really. But I think it's worth a debate for yourself on that one. I'm doing that picks itself there.
I feel like purely for nostalgia, I'll play Chilwell. It is the clean sheet. I think Fulham are less likely to score than Villa. I think Villa's attack's better. So yeah, one to think about though. But yeah, you've got Estupiñán on the pitch, of course.
Yeah, out of necessity. So I'm making myself feel good about that. I probably should have moved him instead of Chilwell. I think I've said I probably regret that a little bit. But yeah, Pickford, Trippier, who I just brought in, Estupiñán, Ruben Diaz, Mbumo, Fernandes, Sterling, Saka, Rashford, Morris with his double game week, and then Haaland. My bench doesn't look nearly as good as yours. You've got Estupiñán who can kind of like come on for a really satisfactory kind of game. I've got Udogie against Liverpool at home, where I think they'll probably concede there, right? So, if Saka's out, because I think there's rumours around Saka not kind of training and getting an injury against Spurs on the weekend. If he's out, I may consider doing a wild card.
Yeah.
Probably not. I'd probably be just happy playing a doggy, whatever, and just like accept it and like come back for it for another day. But like Saka, what is my targeted move out for next game week? So I'll be moving him out for Son next game week. So, and Arsenal have some kind of mixed fixtures kind of moving forward. So if he's not playing this game week, hey, is it worth me like considering?
Early.
Yeah, considering moving him out, bringing in a Son, bringing in a Salah for someone else. That's something I'll seriously consider. But like, at the moment, this is what I've done. Captaincy will probably be on Haaland. I am considering Morris, but like it'll probably be with Haaland. I'm probably 70-30 split. in favour of Haaland at the moment, but and Morris is an option. Morris is
absolutely.
is an option. I think the thing is Wolves aren't great. Man City are.
Yeah.
If Haaland was playing Arsenal or Newcastle,
You play Morris.
I'd probably go Morris. But Wolves, I think.
Yeah.
I'll have a look at Haaland's away game stats as well to see if he regresses at all, kind of in away games or whatnot.
Yeah.
To go into the detail because. Yeah, Burnley at home and Everton away. That's great. That is a great double game week. That's such a good double game week, and Morris will get a haul if he gets any attacking return, and he's very involved, right? If they're going to get a goal, he's going to be involved in some shape or form. So, I'm edging towards Haaland, but Morris is definitely an option. I'll kind of do some research on
potential
Haaland versus can I in away games and see if that influences it. So and then my wild card, as you put here, I'm targeting game week 9. I could shift that earlier if Saka's kind of injured this game week. I could consider game week 8 as well. Because really, I was thinking, I don't want to do it game week 8 because I had triple Chelsea last game week, and I was like, hey, I want them to do well, and they got an easy fixture. I think they got Burnley. Next game week. They have it's one of the kind of weaker teams anyway.
It is. Burnley.
That's Burnley, which is prime. But now I've only got Sterling. I don't have Jackson. I don't have Chilwell. Right. So the benefit I'll get for going hard, kind of running with that kind of Chelsea game is massively reduced. Right. So. I could go game week 8 now. I think I could move that a little bit forward. Obviously, the risk is then you have a international break before game week 9. So that makes you a little bit nervous. But I could see myself game week wildcarding next game week potentially, and then you can get rid of Saka and bring in some Spurs player. You can kind of you could get rid of Haaland, right? Because he's got Arsenal. That kind of game week. So I mean, it's an interesting one. So I'm confident I'm in the wild card in the next couple of game weeks. But whether it's this week, game week 8 or game week 9, edging toward game week 9. But there are other options. So kind of went really early, and I know we say don't go early. I just kind of did because I was mad. Do you know what I mean? I was and there was big swings. Trippier was going up in price. Morris was going up in price. Jackson was going down. Chilwell was going down. I don't normally chase price rises, but that would have been a huge swing. I knew I wanted those players and no one else, and I was kind of just a bit. I was just a bit annoyed, so I went for them Sunday night, which isn't a good practice, but I did it. Whatever. If Trippier gets injured midweek, hey, that's on me. If he gets injured midweek, I'll wild card. If he gets injured, I'll just wild card. I've got that in my back pocket.
I'm with you. I like the point you make about Saka, because I'm just thinking the same. If he is injured, then I might wildcard, but just to put it back on my team, then Stupidan's not a bad option off the bench, as you say. It's not an easy fixture. Obviously, Villa are a good side, been playing well, probably push for Europe, but I don't hate it. I'd rather do that because I don't. If a wildcard, I'm taking out Rashford. He's got Crystal Palace at home. I'm taking out Alvarez. He's away at West Ham. I'm taking out away at Wolves. I'm taking out Diaz, who could very easily get a clean sheet. I'm taking out Mbumo, who could very easily score away at Forest. So all of a sudden, I'm taking out all these players just to accommodate one injury, and that just doesn't feel right. So
I mean, I've got to say you've got an amazing poker face though, because if anyone knows just a bit of a jump there was a reason, but you just got Dave had a little toilet break there and just jumped straight back into it like nothing happened.
What are you on about, man?
That was impressive.
I play poker. That's the reason. I play a lot of poker.
Oh, that's incredible. It's straight back into it as if the convo never stops.
Nothing happened. Don't know what you're on about. But weirdly, we're coming to the end, but I couldn't wait. I promise you, I tried, but I couldn't. But we look forward to seeing what you did do, Matt. So plenty of options. Who you going to captain? Morris or Haaland? Are you going to wildcard if the news for Saka is bad? So yeah, something to tune in for next week. But we're both going to get green arrows. I can feel it. It's in the waters. We're both going to get green arrows this week and start to climb back up the ranks ahead of wildcard time. But thanks for joining us. Appreciate your time as always. Hope you enjoyed it.
Love it. All good. And yeah, best of luck to all Morris owners.
Come on, the Morris. Come on, the Morris. I'm fully on that bandwagon. And me and Thomas will also be rooting on for Matty Cash. But thank you to you, the listener, as well, for joining us, whether you're watching or you're listening. Appreciate your time. If you did enjoy it, do all that usual great stuff if you can. The likes, if you can subscribe, click the bells and all that sort of stuff. It just helps other people find us and who can benefit from it as well as you have. But best luck with your team, whatever transfers you're doing this week. Best of luck for game week 7. And we will see you again next week.